Globalization and localization. So the question is, what does globalization mean, and what has this globalized concept changed our life? Well, globalization would mean that the pace of how much we interact with the global world has changed. That means we are not just the participants of or the citizens of a single nation state. Rather, we are the citizens of a global world with whom we are very interested in terms of aligning our political ideologies and how the economies in one countries are affecting the economies of other countries and our own lives, although we might not be directly related to them. So globalized world has changed methods of production. We are all learning from each other. Mass production, what we produce in one country, is very much there out there to be bought in other countries. The outletting of businesses, multinationals. And apart from this, we need to keep in mind now that national economies, national policies are now affected by the global policies or the global economies, because we are not living in isolation, but we are living in a global community. And that is because the acceleration of change has been unprecedented in the previous years. Now the change is coming so fast because whatever somebody comes upon in a remote part of the world is accessible to us. We can communicate with that person. And then there are also new economic trading blocks, new economic and socio-political organizations at work. Think of IMF, think of the World Bank, think of OECD, and think of how they affect Pakistan and the local person living in Pakistan. Think of transnational democracies. So people living outside Pakistan are not only engaged in democratic processes in the countries in which they live, but also in the democratic processes of the country they originally belonged to. Think of education. Isn't the education system itself has become transnational? Not only do we make our curriculums taking inspiration from what is happening outside, rather think of the influx of the students that goes abroad to get education. Think of migration. Think of asylum seekers. Think of travel, tourism, communication. And then please remember that it is not that the whole world is going to America or England. We are going to other parts of the countries also. And then, for instance, to Germany, to France, and to lots of other countries. And China, for instance, gets lots of students from Korea and Japan itself. So there is process of using languages is not unidirectional. It's not that we are learning from the host countries we go to, but we are also giving them our own languages and culture. So when you go to Sainsbury, for instance, in England, you'll find tikka masala over there also. You'll find samosa over there also. And you will find certain terms that are related to Indian and Pakistani culture. So the difference between now and before in terms of a globalized world and change is that now we have the opportunity to simultaneously engage with multiple languages we are exposed to. So we can choose to learn Spanish, we can choose to go where we want to, and to very fast, different, far away countries also. And as I said, linguistic flow is not unidirectional. We are leaving traces of our own language as we go abroad. And more, the hegemony of English, this ideology that English is the language, the global language, is being challenged. And that is why you see that when you look at different advertisements, they are looking at knowing of other languages than English as important. So when you go work for a really international organization, they encourage their employees to learn the local languages. Now, this concept of not just globalization, but glocalization is taking place. What does that mean? This means that it is not that the global economy or the globalized influences are moving into local economies and local spaces. It is also that the local spaces where we are located and where we participate in our daily lives, they are also taken forth into this global world. So when you travel, for instance, you take with you your language, you take with you your certain cultural values, norms, and they also feed into this globalized world. So it's not something that is just coming in. It is also something that we are taking out. And this taking out of the local into the global is called globalization, and it's equally important. So over here, through that, we are talking about the simultaneous processes of universalizing languages and also particularizing certain cultural norms. So what we are saying is that bilingual education is extremely important and relevant, because not only we are taking these dominant languages and learning from them, our own cultures, own languages do not just diminish, but they are also being taken out in the global world and affects the globalized world that we live in.